Hello and welcome to another episode of the Contractor Grow Show. My name is Mark, and today I'm really excited to speak with Jeff Toren, franchisee owner at Kitchen Tune-Up and Bath Tune-Up. Jeff, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Yes, we've done a deep dive. Love the different things that you guys are up to. Really excited for this interview to just kind of unpack just multifaceted things that you guys are up to that relate to business, your kind of software background, also fitness that you guys are serious about, which I absolutely love. But getting into it, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about the story of your kind of entrepreneurial journey to get here and where things are at today with Kitchen Tune Up and your various franchises.
Awesome. It's been quite a journey. So I was in the software business. I was in sales primarily my whole career before I launched out and did my own thing. So I was selling enterprise software for lots of mid-sized up until the point I worked at IBM. And then eventually, after reaching what I thought was my career pinnacle of being a VP of sales of a company after IBM, a smaller partner, I realized that I was ready to do my own thing. I was kind of tired of that grind of basically lifting up my sleeves and building things for other people. And once I decided to make that move, I broke it to my, at the time, wife, who was we were like 3-4 years into our marriage. And I said, I think I want to do my own thing as my next journey. And she's like, wow. She was a little bit, yeah. At first she was like, are you kidding me? And then she decided, she gave me the ultimate support and said, you know what, before you do that, you're going to get a coach to help you through this decision. And so she actually went and got me a business coach that I spent, I had the blessing of a severance package. So I had some time to figure out, I had about 6 months to figure out, am I going to go this journey or look for a job? So I kind of was looking at both, although my heart was in doing my own thing. And ultimately, I worked with that coach and, looked inside and looked at my skills and my goals. And I looked at a million different businesses. I was going the franchise route because I was in my early 40s at the time. And the risk of, with young kids, pre-college at the time, I wanted to minimize my risk of starting from scratch. So I looked at 50 to 100 different franchise type businesses and narrowed down, believe it or not, to two: the Kitchen Tune-Up business, which was going to be my focus and day-to-day because that's a very hands-on business. And then I looked at a fitness concept that we would launch as well. That would be my wife's get out of corporate card because she's in the pharma industry. And, I thought that the idea was that she would be able to eventually leave that behind as well. So that journey kind of, I somehow we decided to do both at the same time. On retrospect, was kind of insane because I launched Kitchen Tune-Up, and at the time I keep saying at the time, but going back there, I had one of the best first years ever in Kitchen Tune-Up startup for a franchise. So I did quite well because I'm a goal-oriented guy coming from sales, and we did about 600,000 our first year. And no one had ever done that before. And at the same time as I was growing and launching that and learning this exciting business, I was looking for a location for our first gym. And at the end of that year, we opened our first location as I was learning how to scale and grow the kitchen remodeling business. I have to admit, I would, on retrospect, would definitely not do that. It was a lot. It was, mentally overwhelming to learn how to scale and grow, from financials to just, it's a lot to learn to have your own business. And I might have took that lightly. So I'd say that's a cautionary tale. We did make it through that. And we now have that success we have with Kitchen Tune-Up led us to invest in additional territory locations because my goals were quite big. And my whole idea was to make this a lasting business that would be a legacy to me and my family. Because being in sales, I was a slow boat to nowhere. I had no equity. I was slowly 401k, that kind of investment stuff, and it just wasn't growing. So we then bought another territory of Kitchen Tune-Up at the end of our first year, opened a showroom, off and running, and then to now we've had a heck of a journey in the 10 years. We then Kitchen Tune-Up launched a sister brand called Bath Tune-Up, which got us into bathroom remodeling, which we bought 5 locations of. We scaled our kitchen tune-up to 7 locations, so we own a large portion of the Philadelphia suburbs, top 10 market,
Uh-huh.
and we were franchise of the year last year for bath tune-up. So that new brand is now growing. It's almost equal to our kitchen business.
Huh.
And last year we ended up doing about 3.2 million combined in our businesses of
I
kitchen
love
and
it.
bath tune-up. And we have plans to grow 60% this year. I've got a business coach who's guiding me on scaling and growing. And it's not an easy business. I'd say it's harder than I thought, but it's
Uh-huh.
very rewarding. It's never ending the challenges you face in building a remodeling business.
That's great,
So,
man. Yeah, thank you for that explanation. Can I ask you, I'm just curious, we're always trying to help entrepreneurs on their path. How is it harder than you thought? Business is often harder than we think, right? It takes longer. How is that kind of showing up for you?
well, I think it's harder on a few levels. I think the remodeling business is, at least in my experience of the last 10 years, and I don't think anyone would argue with me because I'm friends with a lot of kitchen tune-up owners. There's almost 200 of us. You have the economic ups and downs, which are somewhat out of your control. I thank God I wasn't in this in '08 because I heard of a lot of businesses went out beyond, a lot made it through and, kind
Sure.
of, but so you have first the economic cycles, there's seasonality. So we find certain parts of the year that slow down. So you have a lot of imbalances that occur that you have to be very careful with your resources.
Hmm.
It also find that the the management of the cash flow is extremely challenging. There's huge outflows that come and go at different times that don't always line up with your sales or your production schedule.
Uh-huh.
And so I've got caught over the years and learned so many lessons in how to manage. I mean, I come with a financial and sales background, and even so, I'm very good at sales in my own, in my experience. But still, those challenges can sweep you out of business in a minute
Uh-huh.
if you're not really careful. Like, so I'm very cautious to try to save as much into a savings account. Lines of credit, loans. You have to have those resources, or you can catch yourself on the wrong side of it. And I've seen many people go out of business that are doing well. That happens. I mean, even this year, last year we had our second best year ever, and I came out of the year like our first year where I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna have any cash flow challenges. Like, we made out of the year, our bank's full, we paid off our bills. I was so excited. I felt so healthy. And then lo and behold, we get to like late January and we have like a 3 to 4 week period where we closed almost nothing.
Mm.
And we had 3 or 4 projects kick off that were financed that had no kickoff payments. So all of a sudden we have a 4 week period with almost no income, and
Uh-huh.
the bills didn't stop. And so
Uh-huh.
luckily
Oh,
I had
right.
those cushions in place, but I had to use them, and it was
Uh-huh.
disappointing, but I had
Uh-huh.
it. So now, obviously, a week later, you start refilling it. The pipeline's strong, but now you got to get those guys across the finish line.
Oh, right.
So I mean, that's hard, and that's a long story to unpack, obviously, but I think everyone faces it in this business. And
Uh-huh.
then I find that the other hard part is obviously building that culture and bringing in talent and people that are really good. I'd say obviously your production's got to be really good in this digital world. If you're not doing a good job, your reviews suffer, your word of mouth suffers, and this business gets real hard then. But on the sales side, even if though I come from sales, I find that to bring in real A players is not easy. I've I've gone I've had a lot of sales staff that come in out of the gate, you're like, oh my God, this is the one. I always have a sales team. Right now I have 3 people, and those that succeed, it's not always long term as you hope. So
Oh, right.
you know, then my sales team is like it's like a boat of broken dreams. It's just like, wow. But you don't give up there, like, because that's the only way to scale and grow this. Like, I could always go back and sell myself, but then I'd be a quarter of the size I am. I have to have a
Uh-huh.
sales team. I feel if you're a selling operator, you max out $1 million in business because you're doing too many things and you can't
Hmm.
scale. So you got to. This is a sales grind, not too different than when I was in software, but it's my grind, so I'm happy with it. But it's challenging. and not everybody can do it.
Oh man, I'm taking notes so fast.
Yeah.
I love it.
Sorry, you asked a great question that just launched me into a, topics there. But those are, those are hard things. And there's a lot of people that come in that are good at, like I was good at sales and marketing, not good at production. And I wasn't a detail oriented person. So I had to learn that and then hire people that could take production off me. And even though I've been in sales 30 years before I opened this, or 25 years, it's still really hard to have high close rates, have consistency, because even with all that being said, I could do 300,000 one month and 120 the next month. And that's no way to run a business. You run into challenges.
Yeah, big time. That's amazing, Jeff. Really appreciate just sharing some of the tricky parts of this. It's fantastic, really helpful for our audience here. I mean, you're great at sales. We are constantly kind of dealing with salespeople, hiring sales. I'm doing sales, right? And yeah, I mean, a good salesperson is typically not looking for a job, right? And so it's sort of like, where do you even find those people in the first place, and then keeping them, right? Whether it's commissions, spiffs, and kind of culture and whatnot. Do you have any tips on what you've learned here in 30 years of working with salespeople, yourself being great at sales, and now hiring, multiple, continuously hiring multiple salespeople for your company now? Any thoughts on that? I mean, are there any shortcuts that someone can take? Are there any kind of tips you have on how to make that work?
The shortcuts. I'm always looking for the shortcuts. It's interesting. So first, I typically, my team is it's a full commission sales opportunity. I do, for those that and they're starting, I usually am going to have some sort of draw or recoverable draw that I'll, to hire the best people, even though it's typically a full commission type environment. I do feel that I have had, and I'm okay with providing a draw, because otherwise you can't get those really strong people.
Uh-huh.
I do a lot of marketing, so I don't have a lead problem. So I feel like that allows me to. So a lot of people that might be very talented are in a company that's, let's just say, more organically growing. Counting on, oh, we've been in business 10 years, we get referrals, and that's great. But I don't think you can grow with that. I think you can maintain a good business, but you're not going to grow 30, 40, 50% if that's your goal. And that's my goal. So I have a big marketing budget. So the first thing is kind of meeting those people where they need to be comfortable to leave where they are. And so for me, that's been offering a draw in the beginning. After that, they don't need it, because I'm going to give them 10, 15 plus leads a month. And if they can close 30 to 40% of it, they're selling a large volume that's going to make more money than they've ever made. So I also, provide reimbursement for their expenses, mileage, cell phone, whatever. So, typical stuff like that. I also provide incentives, because for me, my biggest enemy, like I talked about earlier, is the instability of the monthly revenue. So I offer incentives that drive them for if they hit over a certain amount in a month, they get bonused on the volume that month. So I don't want them to sit in their laurels and be like, I'll get it next month. Because in this business, it's very competitive, and time kills these deals. If you wait too long and just think it's going to happen next month, well, then they're getting 4 other quotes and they're going to go to someone else. So I need a little sense of urgency. We're not a one call close, like high pressure type environment, because that's not who I am. Everything we do is kind of, I'm going to sell the same way I'd want someone to sell to me. So it's a fine line of being high, wanting to close quickly and in the same period, but not being high pressure, and not leaving the home, and, accept that they're not ready to decide, but work your butt off to get them to decide quicker, earn that. And so we have systems and plans of how we, work an opportunity before we show up to the house, so that we can earn that one call close. So my incentives are built around that, and a quarterly kind of, if you hit a certain quarterly. So I have some really nice kickers on top of their commission, so that they can, lately, for a while, my sales team makes a lot more money than me, because I'm looking at the overall business. a lot more
Uh-huh.
money than me. I mean, but I'm looking
Right.
at the big picture. If
Classic.
of course, right? But that's okay, because if your sales team's all operating, then and you got them on all cylinders, then I'll hit a point where I'll flip that coin, and I could see it this year that it won't even be close. But like you said, the tips. So I had an epiphany. It was about a month ago. One of my designers is doing very well. I overuse the term rock star, but she's doing really well. She was an interior designer. She came in with not much sales experience, but great personality and skill in our business, leaning more towards interior decorating, which is not usually a high volume sales environment. So she came in and learned and really wanted to learn. So I am a very growth oriented person. I give all the opportunities to learn, to grow your skills. I mean, whether it's through the franchise, which provides opportunities, or sales programs I license. I've done quite a few different programs I expose the team to. And she's embraced it all. And now she personally did 1.5 million last year. And I think this year she could break 2 million, just with the same lead flow she has. And so what I realized, when I look at the rest of my team, is not doing that. I'm like, I need more of that, more of people that really care and try. So yes, we recruit on Indeed and do boosted posts and all that. You know what? Who you get from those? The people looking for jobs.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes those work out, but most times they don't. So I had an epiphany. I was like, I'm going to go find that person. And so I personally, I went to our vendor partner grand opening. I went to, NKBA events. Like I got out and I talked to all my vendor partners, and I said to, and after like really only 2 weeks of this, of that epiphany, one of my towel reps said, "Hey, I know someone. She's really, really good, but she's kind of starting to think about looking. She hadn't even started yet."
Mhm.
And I called her like in a second he said that she was ready to talk, and she
Uh-huh.
came on board, and she's like, I could already tell within 2 to 3 weeks on that she's going to be that. So you got to make you got to manifest and make it happen. Sometimes if I just waited around, I mean, it took me 6-12 months to find someone worth hiring. Before that, the other person I hired, it was 6 to 9 months to find, and
Wow.
that's rough when it doesn't always work out. And I can't wait, because otherwise I would be out selling again,
Mhm.
because then I'd have one person or two, and it's not enough for the volume we need to hit.
Mhm.
um and while I can sell, it'll take me away from the business and growing the business. So
Amazing. It's just it's amazing. It's an amazing insight. And so I mean, you know, we've heard a lot of great guests on the show talking about that hiring like a quality talent is what changed their business. And what Jeff's talking about is, I mean, having like top talent, rock star,
yeah,
salespeople. I mean, it changes everything. But those people that are amazing salespeople, they're not looking for a job. Okay, they're not on Indeed in most cases, and you may be able to find some people there that work out, but in many cases they're already employed somewhere, right? And or it's a network situation of talking with folks, reaching out, and I mean that's amazing that you're going out and talking with your vendor partners and really putting the word out there, but not looking for someone that you're finding on Craigslist, right?
that's
It's
not where they
people
are.
that right. They're already employed and they're already making good money where they are. And really have to step up your game to, and whether it's the compensation package or the way that you are building the culture. I love
Culture's
this
big.
idea. Okay. I love it. And I love this idea of like teaching and training people. And so, I mean, are you saying that, I mean, you've got a lot of great kind of programs and things you paid a lot of money for. There are various, ongoing training programs. I mean, you're like offering these to your team and for folks that want to learn, want to grow. That's an incentive for them itself and also helps them get better and so they're better at doing their job.
Yeah, I mean, if honestly, that's one of the first, because my kind of screening process has changed. My coach actually helped me change it, because I'm so optimistically wired, even with all the challenges of this world. I'm always glass half full person, and so when I interview someone, typically I'll do like, yeah, they're great, but, and I'll go with the great part, and I overlook the but part. And so my I mean, so then you end up bringing some wrong people on and keeping them longer than you should, because then I'll always have hope. And I could think of so many people I've had that I hold on to for a year or more, because I'm like, yeah, they're not hitting their number, but I could see they're trying, or that, and that's a big learning that I've had to go through. And my coach has helped me a lot on that. But one of the things she had me do is we broke up my recruiting process. So I kind of have 3 steps that occur now that saves me from bad hires. I mean, or let's say it can't save you, but it saves you from a lot of them. So
Uh-huh.
it starts off with, we obviously have candidates, and then my operations manager does a culture interview. That's all she does. She just does a call, and she has a list of questions just to see if they're a good fit from a personality kind of perspective. Because if we're going to go into our customers' homes, we need to make sure they match. My culture is like me, very ethical, very nice, very warm, very caring, but yet hungry and wanting to grow. And so she's going to measure for that. And then my coach actually does an interview for me where she's kind of the pit bull. So she comes in and asks the really hardcore questions. Do they have the skills to be successful? So by the time it comes to me, they've already gone through that gauntlet. And at that point, it's kind of, if I like them and they fit, or whatever steps I'm going to go through, they're good to hire. So that filters out, like when I told you it took me 9 months to find a sales rep, it's because none made it to me in 9 months. They went through those 2 steps and did not make it to me. Literally, I had one interview, and that was the one I hired, which is great, saved me time, but also saved me from the risk of who knows what I would have decided on before.
Right.
So I mean, that's a huge part. I mean, but that also is the part when you said culture. The culture of the business is so important. Without that, there's no way that you can do this, I think. And it won't be fun. And your customers, when you have that culture right, I can't tell you how many times in some of our reviews, you'll see it where people go, wow, the sales designer was so nice, and Linda on the phone was amazing. And then the installers, I didn't want them to leave. When I see those reviews, it makes me so happy, because that's what I'm going for. Everyone I hire, I want to be like that, caring, and really doing that. And then back to your other point about the growth, the I guess training, and that growth mindset is when I do my interview. That's what I'm asking most about. What podcasts do you listen to? What books do you read? What do you do? What else do you do outside of work that's competitive? That you're growing. Like if you're just work and you don't really have much going on, you're probably not. It's not going to work. Like the growth mindset is, especially on a sales team, is required. If you don't want to learn to be better, I don't want to hire you, because I'm going to be wasting my time. Because our sales meetings, I'm constantly trying to find ways for us to help each other to get better, whether it's training, like right now, like my 2 new designers are going to be on a 2-day intensive with the franchise that they put together for learning how to sell bathrooms better. If you think you already know everything, you don't, because I'm still all these years in
Right.
sales, still bettering myself, or anything to keep your positive mind. So that's a requirement to work in our business for me, especially on the sales side. It's hard out there, and then you
Amazing.
lose a lot. If our goal is 30-40% win rate, you're losing 60-70% of the time. That can knock you down, and you might do it
Yeah.
5 in a row.
Right.
And it's not like you don't always get like, oh, I went to 4 appointments, I closed 2. You might lose 7 times in a row, and it's
Right.
hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I love it. Regarding the sales piece, another, I think, way, that I've heard this described is like great, top level talent, whether it be sales or, installers, folks that are working on your team. They're not motivated by only money. They usually have got a great job. They've got many, many opportunities. That's not their main motivation, right? And to what Jeff's talking about is that, for instance, a thorough training environment. And I mean, we're all about that here. I've spent so much money on programs and coaches, and I mean, just like unbelievable amount. And we're always sharing that with team that comes in and kind of leading with that and saying, look, if you want to grow, if you want to grow, like grow yourself, grow your skills and become better. I mean, we're always asking folks, what do you want to do what do you want to be in 5 years, right? And we've seen on our end that folks that are motivated by the training and the kind of growth path, they always end up being much better for the team, right? And much better employees for us to work with. So I couldn't
Totally.
agree more with that. It's fantastic. Jeff, and so you guys also have a kickboxing company in town as well. I mean, you've had kind of a franchise, but now you guys have Happy Life Kickboxing. Is fitness, I mean, is that just a business for you? I imagine you're also motivated by fitness. How does the kickboxing franchise fit into the kickboxing business that you guys have, you and Penny, your wife, have? How does that kind of fit in with your larger kind of lifestyle, and does it contribute anything to the just how you run also, kitchen tune up and bathroom tune up?
So my wife's incredible when she's in that business. She has a very strong passion for fitness, loves changing lives in that respect. I wish I'll admit that the kitchen remodeling business hasn't lent me the time to take part in it as much as I'd like, although it's super fun, and it is amazing when you see, we have members who've been there, for 7 years that have lost 50 pounds and
Wow.
got their lives back in other ways. So it is amazing what that can do. It's not, so it's definitely a feel-good business when it's working right. And
Mhm.
that's kind of the way we look at it. Now, our parent company is called Happy Life that owns our businesses. Our vision when we launched was that we wanted to be in businesses that contributed to the enjoyment of people's lives. And what better way than, health, and the kitchen is the center of your home. I mean, the bathroom obviously becomes your sanctuary, but the kitchen is where you do homework and where you feed your, cook and, have all the joys of your family right there. And so I love when I look at a kitchen and I'm thinking of how do they use it as their family unit. For me, like, we pretty much sit at the island, while if I'm cooking or my wife's cooking, the kids are, my kids are out of the house now, but that was where homework happened. That was where, like, and that's where you wanted it. So that's really kind of our guiding principle is that we want to be in things. I remember we had someone reproached us about buying a burger joint that was not doing well for like almost nothing. When a business isn't doing well, you could kind of pick it up for nothing. And we're like,
Right.
oh yeah, we're like, I don't think I want to be in a burger business. Like, that's not really helping the family. It's just like, it just didn't follow our principles. I mean, it was interesting as a business owner, like, wow, I can buy this existing business for like $10,000, it costs $300 to open. Then we're like, no, it's going to be a distraction and it's not towards our core. And we
Yeah,
obviously
I
passed
love
on
that.
that. Thank God.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
imagine, you lose an employee. It's not like I'm running a sales call. I could do that. But if I'm flipping burgers, that's not what I want to do at 8 o'clock on a school night.
Fascinating. Well, all kinds of just great information in this. I mean, taking a look at my notes here. I mean, we talked about some of the kind of difficulty of running the business, right? Some economic concerns, management of cash flow, super helpful to keep that in mind. Yeah, I mean, it can be huge months and then down the next month. In some ways, some folks see us kind of heading into a little bit slower building cycle. And so managing cash flow is absolutely critical. You need full-time salespeople, or if you're a sole entrepreneur trying to run everything, you're going to max out at $1 million. We talked about some of the different ways that you kind of pay your sales team. And I mean, I just want to like remind that, Jeff came from a sort of a software background, a sales background, and I'm always interested in how someone came into the trades. And when I find that someone has come from a very different type of background, they didn't just grow up on a roof, right? Roofing, that they look at business with a more kind of a keen eye, kind of an analytical, view of it. And so, the things we touched on this here are just absolutely fantastic, absolute gold, right? And if you listen to this interview, I'd consider going back through it and listening to it and taking some notes. Jeff, fantastic. If, you guys have got really, many different kind of franchises in the Pennsylvania area or in the Philadelphia area for kitchen tune-up. You've also got a number of franchises for bath tune-up. And am I saying that right? Yeah, bath tune-up.
Yeah, bath tune-up.
If folks are looking to get a kitchen or bath tune-up, or if they're looking for a great team to be a part of, where you may be where they're going to be able to be trained. They're going to learn more about their craft. What are the best ways to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah. Well, certainly. I mean, I that's a big part of actually what I do. Like I'm on our franchise council. Have been for 6 years. So I love. I mean, that's in my community of kitchen tune-up and bath tune-up owners. I love to help others. It's a hard business. The school of hard knocks. I've found the mentors that helped me get where I am. I wouldn't be where I am without that help. So it's a big part of me is that I love to, like, being on this podcast and doing things like this. I love that because I can speak to more people than one at a time. But yeah, I've opened. If anyone hears this and wants to just pick my brain a bit, feel free. You can hit me on Facebook, or hit me on our webpage. I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably a good place to reach out. I think that's easy ways to get me. But yeah, I love to help others if I can, or it can help them save themselves from making some of those cautionary tales. I always say, like, when will we have a day or a week where I didn't learn something, like a lesson learned? It's still not happening yet. And I think that's part of why the business is fun, because it is very challenging, and that challenge keeps it interesting. But it gets easier, certainly, as you scale. I have different problems now than I had when I was starting. Very different, more people oriented, I'd say, at this point. But
Fantastic. So you can find Jeff Toren, Toren, on LinkedIn. Probably look up LinkedIn, Jeff Toren.
I'm on
and
X too. I'm on X as well. Yeah, I'm
on X as well.
X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook.
Great. And then located right. Plane message.
Yeah,
dragging a banner.
Dragging a banner on a plane. Yeah, that's cool. I'll see that.
Are you actually located yourself in Exton?
I'm in Malvern, Pennsylvania, so just like 5-10 minutes outside of Exton.
Okay. And then let's see. And then Jeff, is a good way to get in touch with you regarding your website? I mean, would that be kitchentuneup.com/mainlinepa?
Yeah, we have like kind of a short name. It's kitchentuneup.mainline.com, which is a sub page, like off of the corporate franchise page.
Okay, perfect. So kitchen
just Google that, you'll find me.
Mainline.com. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom, all your lessons learned over the years. It's going to be really helpful for our audience. I really appreciate being on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's nice being on, and nice meeting you, Mark.